Hello everyone, my name is Ohira and this is the second time I'm recording this video. I'll try to be a little bit quicker this time, since it was like 45 minutes of me yapping about Ash. I would like to talk about Ash's history, how he currently works, and what changes are we about to expect in the upcoming update, which is going to come out in 18 days, if I ever release this video today. And well, let's just jump into it. Before we do, I'm a former Ash main. I started playing the game in 2018, and I've been maining Ash up until 2021, when Pablo publicly refused to rework him at TennoCon 2021. Only he said he was afraid that this Warframe would just become too popular if he reworked him, and he wants people to play like Neja instead, so he wasn't supposed to change Ash at all, and that kind of broke my heart. And I stopped playing this Warframe for the past almost 4 years, and just recently started coming back to him because I discovered that Roar is better than Silence, more on that later. And yeah, I have a 250,000 kills on his super nerfed Bladestorm, the one which used to put 3 marks on an enemy individually. That is, by the way, 10% of my total account kills. So yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. I had like 1500 hours on Ash alone. Mission time, I mean, and a little bit more in Steam. I believe it's 2,500 hours, and it used to be like 53%. I just had to flex it because, well, I mean, yeah, I was pretty much associated with Ash only between my friends back in the day. So, let's talk about Ash, about his Bladestorm only right now. So I'm just gonna go with the most traditional, hopefully well-known build. I know some people don't know about it, but I also hope that most people do. I really wish. So we're just gonna go with this setup. This is Steel Charge, Arcane Fury, Blind Rage, Transient Fortitude, Rolling Guard, Primed Continuity, Fleeting Expertise, Streamline, Precision Intensify, Savage Silence Augment. Also, I kind of came back to Arcane Trickery. It's pretty fun instead of Energize. I can play without it, but it's kind of fun that I'm able to use it, so why not? Precision Intensify is better than Umbrella Intensify, even if you think that this is not the case, because the damage is going to get buffed by like... can I do that, please? Can I do that? Yeah, it's going to be like 1,000% extra damage, but actually buffing Bladestorm damage is more important than any Helmet abilities you're going to slap on the first skill, be it Silence, be it Roar, whatever. So this is the standard setup. Before we go into it, I must mention that anything you activate after you already started the Bladestorm will not affect it. So for example, if you marked enemies and started the Bladestorm and then activated Arcane Fury, it will not work until the ultimate is finished and you mark and activate it again. So activate the Arcane before you order your clones to attack. It's just one important gameplay tip I have to give right off the bat. The best build for Ash utilizes Vanka Prime with its 13 times combo count. I'm gonna talk about the base ability right now, okay? The base ability. It needs at least 50% attack speed for the maximum animation boost. These two mods are here to gain extra combo count. It's basically going to be 2 hits with a 20% chance of getting a 3rd hit. The rest is just combo count duration, and this is just like started combo because I just had to slap something here. This is just for crate busting when I was running this thing. As you can see, I've been running Venka Prime for quite some time. It's still my top 1 melee. When is Preda's going to overtake it? Pretty soon. It's been 4 years. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And the shards that I'm running are 4 duration shards and 1 energy max shards. He really needs that shard, 150 energy at base is nothing. He really wants that. And the duration just had to be fixed because I have like 67% duration with these mods. And continuity, just had to slap it because, well, the duration was horrible. And it is better now, it is more playable. So let's just show that. Let's say against these guys. I'm probably gonna stack combo right now. Fine. You need to start with the least expensive abilities, so you want to activate Duplex Bond as much as possible, so you want to consume more expensive abilities. If you're running Zeneric, you need to go for that. 3.4 million, the highest damage we can go for with the Blade Storm setup as of right now. Could help with a little bit of Epitaph. I'll show the Epitaph and Noddle's builds later, if I don't forget. 3.4 million, 3,427,000 whatever-ish damage. That's the highest you can go for with just Blade Storm right now. The Epitaph build was like this. We just have viral, magnetic, heat is kind of whatever here, and just more combo count. And the Nautilus build I have specifically made for Ashe, which utilizes the bond for finishers, which allows the Sentinel to attack from being invisible, because Ashe makes Sentinels invisible, and they've recently made it so that Sentinels do not attack while made invisible by Warframe. This bond overrides it, and Duplex Bond obviously spawns more clones with more Hellstroms, which are going to prime your enemies for you, making a very comfortable playstyle. A viral magnetic heat as well, that's all you may need for Axios units and for any other faction, be it Grineer or Corpus. That's pretty much it when it comes to the vanilla builds. You know, that's pretty much what everyone should hopefully be using if they're using Bladestorm. Now recently, I've discovered that silence does not affect the slash damage from the Bladestorm. It only affects the initial hit of the ability, since it is considered a finisher, but it doesn't actually buff the damage of slashes. So as you can see, the damage is 100,000, but the slashes are like 600k. Even if I were to get max combo, damage would be... oh, I forgot to activate my arcane, that's what I was talking about. As you can see, the damage is very small right now. I need to activate my arcane. Right, so it's 800,000 damage, but the slashes are only dealing like what, 40k, while they should be at around 400,000. So they're not affected by it. While with Roar, obviously they are. And being affected by Roar makes them a lot better at finishing enemies before the second mark has to land on them. It is a lot of damage, and you should not underestimate how much damage you can get with Roar. Look at the slashes, 127,000 against like mere 40,000. This is a huge buff. Unfortunately, without Viral, I still have to go for that. But it will be changed in the next update, and I will only need one mark for that instead. Also, Silence limits us to 20 meters effective range, and forces us to use Savage Silence Augment, while the Roar does not have range restriction, so we can utilize full 50 meters of seeking range. And we can also use Rising Storm, which allows us to get our combo this fast. Look at that, my previous favorite build. 5, 7, 10, 11, 13. 8 marks is enough to get full combo. How does that look like? Love it, you know? Absolutely love it. They're still not gonna die, but whatever. Without viral, they're not gonna die unless I do something else. And another thing that I want to talk about before I go into clones is that there are some enemies which are not susceptible to finishers, and of course that makes it really hard to play against them. So as you can see, the damage is capped at 83,000, but the slashes are only 29,000. It's only 29,000 damage. Not more than that. And the damage is capped at 93k. Silence still affects that, but it is capped for sentience. Roller, however, while still hitting the cap damage against sentience, does not restrict the slash deities from taking for more. So let me get my combo. It was 29k slashes before, and now they're 80k. They're what is that? 400,000? No, it was like 91k, 91k, 50k, 91k. So as you can see, they all died, which is not going to happen without silence. And even crazier example of that would be auditors. Auditors are not susceptible to finishers at all. So let me do that. We stack full combo. See, the damage is 56k and the slashes are not even like happening. I buff it, the damage changed, but the slashes still didn't. The slashes are still 14k and all of that. And it's only the initial hit which matters now. But they will have to wait for the second mark to hit them if we want to one-shot. Which is not even going to be a one-shot technically. It's going to be a two-shot. While with Roar, of course, the raw damage is going to be less. But the deities are going to tick for much more. It's like 45k now already. It's pretty good. They're losing all of their shields. And look, they are dying. And that's again without any viral procs. May look worse, but it's actually better because of the range. And it also affects enemies who are not susceptible to finishers. So that's a pretty good ability, overall actually better than Silence. Because it also doesn't interrupt Nautilus' grouping, unlike Silence, which is very annoying to deal with. So anyway, that's it for the base Ash. Now let's talk about the bug TM, which happened since Citrin's Last Wish update. Since Citrin's Last Wish update, the clones themselves, not the ability, not that, the clones, like the physical ones, have become summoned entities. So they are affected by Summoner's Wrath. They are not affected by Strength, but they are affected by Silence, because they are considered a finisher damage. They are not affected by arcanes or any other conditional buffs, like for example Magister 100% extra melee damage from activating Incarnate mode. This is not going to affect them. This base damage is going to affect them. This attack speed probably will as well, I don't remember. And they are also affected by Incarnate perks. I'll get to that in a minute. So the only thing that we want here is some more power strength. For example, Crepuscular, I believe it's called. For 3 times crit damage, it does work on them. And 30% power strength. Yeah, this is going to affect the clones. Arcane Trickery, yes, they can also proc it, so why not? Umbral Intensify is going to be better here. Let me slap like the old build. And now the most interesting part, the clones. So the clones scale from the base damage of your weapon, like this damage, plus whatever damage the incarnate perks give it. They have base 2 times crit multiplier, which scales from incarnate perks, so it does get increased to 3 times, and they take whatever modded crit chance you have on your melee weapon. This is the only crit chance which they are going to look at. It does not matter how you buff it with combo, they're not affected by combo, and the crit damage is going to be pretty much similar to this, basically. You're looking at Magister right now. They are affected by base damage mods, crit chance mods, crit damage mods, elemental mods, finisher damage mods, like finishing strike, I don't remember, finishing touch, yes. We still need attack speed, because yes, this is pretty much just remade Korra build. They're not affected by any arcanes out here except for this puncture one, but that's like 0.6 times crit damage. If we don't build into it, it doesn't matter. Magister is also like 3 times better than Ceramic Dagger. If you wanted to try that thing, it's just not worth it, even if it can get a lot of crit damage out of here, which it cannot, by the way. Not as much for Ashe as you would hope for. So, not really worth it. They're also affected by physical damage. They're affected by Bane damage, so like faction damage mods, and they're affected by conditional overload, although those 3 things are very, very weak for them and you should not really go for it. It is usually a DPS loss in most cases, especially against unmatched factions, like for example Acolytes, which are factionless, or independent I believe. So yeah, again, clones are not affected by strength. They can only deal damage to enemies who are susceptible to finishers, otherwise they're not even gonna show you any damage and they're not gonna deal any damage. So if Acolytes, Sentients, any flying enemies, any priority targets like Babao, Aximuses, and I believe Demolists are not affected by clones. So the majority of the stuff that you want clones to affect is not affected by them. Necromax, all of that kind of stuff. So, not really worth running in the regular gameplay, although some may argue that it is. It's honestly not, and it's going to be taken away from us in 18 days anyway. I'm going to show it to you against Sentients right now, if I can find them. So yeah, going for Invis, activate Silence, mark all of them, they should be dead. No, it's 60k damage. And it is not taken into account our guys at all. And look, 5k damage, pathetically small. But now, if I were to go against enemies who are susceptible to finishers, by the way, the clone's damage is not affected by combo in any way, again. Look at that. 1.4 million, 2.6 million orange crits with no viral. That's like 1 million damage less than my fully stacked Bladestorm with 10 viral procs. So I think you can see how powerful this shit is. If it was to work against every enemy in the game, it would just be super overpowered if we were to combine it with our Bladestorm as well, but they're still somehow alive. Sometimes they just don't hit, apparently. That's the first time I'm seeing this. And with full viral procs, of course it's going to be a lot faster and a lot stronger. So, just go Invis, let's just go like that. Let's just spawn a Nautilus. 8 million, let's go for something more. I believe we can reach some crazy numbers here. Come on, 8.9, that's not the highest we can get, we can go higher than that. Let's go for maximum viral procs and 12,946,000, I believe, thousand. That's the highest damage you can get out of these guys. Well, you can also add a bit more power strength, but you get the idea. We get like 13 million damage from these guys, which is a lot. And another interesting part about them is that they can proc Jat-Kitag Vulcan Blitz Augment, the damage of which is affected by armor. The clones ignore armor, but this augment obviously does not. However, since we cannot realistically armor strip and keep silence at the same time, we'll have to go with that. The base damage and the crit stats of Jat-Kitag are pathetically small, so we cannot really do much about it. And we'll just have to hope that it is enough. And as you can see, yes, the explosions do happen, and they deal quite a lot of damage. Not going to explode all of them, but please get grouped up. And boom. So yeah, that's Jat-Kitag. Yes, Ash can nuke things. It's pretty cool. That's also going to be taken away, by the way. So yeah, the clones obviously do have some massive restrictions. So they cannot work against enemies who are not susceptible to finishers, and Roar barely buffs them. They have no status chance stat. So it's not even 0%, it's no percent. You cannot even buff nothing by whatever you put. You cannot even buff it by incarnate perks. They will not proc status under any circumstances. That's all. But they're affected by the aura, and if you take the aura away, the damage is going to be cut by like 3/4, so just do not do that. That's pretty much how Ash currently works. The first hit is the clone's hit, and then the rest is just the ability damage itself, up to 3 marks on a single enemy. Now the changes that are going to be made for Ash is that his ult is going to hit enemies only once, so it's going to be only 1 mark, and that actually severely nerfs the energy regen that Ash has. So if you know, before Ash used to mark enemies 3 times at the cost of 1 mark, he used to mark them all mark by mark individually. So you had to put a mark on an enemy 3 times if you wanted to mark them 3 times, right? So if you marked enemy 3 times, so you spend 3.9, say, times 3 energy, and you kill them in 1 mark, the remaining 2 would get refunded to you, so you would get 7.8 energy back. But since they changed it so that you spend 3.9 energy to apply all 3 marks, killing enemies in 1 mark still gives you 7.8 energy back. So spend 3.9 energy on an enemy, get 7.8 energy back after killing them with a single mark, which is literally pulling energy out of thin air. And it still currently works this way, which is pretty funny that this bug has gone unnoticed for over 3 years, and they have just recently realized that apparently Ash puts a different amount of marks on enemies at different levels. So it's 1 mark on an enemy level 10 and below, and 2 marks on enemies level, I believe, 20-ish and below. I have rarely put marks on enemies of these low levels, but you get the idea. So he doesn't always even put 3 marks, and Pablo didn't even know about it, which is pretty funny. So that energy refund is going to be a nerf for sure, but we can live with it. It's kind of fine. Ash does not consume that much energy in real missions anyway. We cannot put like 70 to 120 marks like we can in the simulacrum in a real mission. The most I've seen was like 24, like on average. The highest I did on mission was 78 marks, I believe. It was a survival, so of course that's not really a realistic approach. So you should not bother too much about the energy regen. It's fine, we will go with it. It's okay. what's changing about the Bladestorm is that it's going to become a unified damage. So the clones, the damage that the clones used to deal, which they could not deal to enemies who are not susceptible to finishers, is going to become a part of the ability's damage. So this 11,000, the clones will actually become a part of that. We don't know if they're gonna stay summoned entities and if Summoner's Wrath is going to affect them or not. Probably not. I would assume not. I would assume it's just an ability. It's going to be an ability. But we'll see about that. And they will also add 5% crit chance, 5% stun chance, and 1 times crit multiplier to that ability for us to work with. Which is so much nothing. Honestly, that's like so much nothing. But it's still better than nothing, right? If this damage that the clones are going to add to this ability is going to be considered a finisher damage and will not affect, say, sentients or any other non-susceptible enemies, it's going to be nothing. I would hope that since it becomes a part of the ability itself and it's going to be a singular hit, please, for the love of God, please let it affect all the enemies Ash can mark. Please, that would be so damn good. If not, that's a giga nerf. Not a nerf, it's just that we get nothing. But if it does get affected by that, then it's fine, right? It's fine. So now in terms of the new build, which is theoretically going to be the best for new upcoming Ash Bladestorm, 5% in both stats and 1 times crit multiplier means that we are kind of screwed. At best, even if we were to include Galvanized Elementalist and Weeping Wounds, we would only get up to 33% status chance. Whatever else you may add is only going to bring you up to like 40% status chance at best. Melee influence is just not viable on Ash Bladestorm. Do not even bother. It's just not going to be it. The only two options we have remaining are raw damage and crits. And the only two arcanes which we're going to use, well, 3 technically, it's going to be Crescendo or Exposure, or maybe, we'll have to see about it, Duplicate. We'll see. The build, well, it is going to be like naturally affected by conditional overload, hopefully not the nerfed one, because it was nerfed for clones sometime after Citrine's Last Wish. I don't know when. It's always keep in mind, this is a bug, by the way. The clones being summoned entities and dealing damage is a bug, the same way that Titania's bugs are bugs, and they should not be dealing damage, scaling from Divada damage apparently. Why? I don't know. It's fine. I don't know where they're taking away this thing from us. I hope they wouldn't. Titania has just become really good. Anyway, I digress. So the raw damage setup is going to look pretty much like this. So it's going to be conditional overload, base damage, we still need primed fury, elemental damage mods, finisher damage mods. There's going to be covered lethality here, and elementalists. Probably normal one instead of galvanized, although we can select galvanized, so we could have at least 12% status chance, and that means that we have 12% for a second slash proc, if it's going to be like that. If we can even activate galvanized mods from our pseudo exalted soon to be exalted like that. If we cannot, then it's going to be a normal elementalist, and I hate faction mods, so we don't care about faction mods. It's going to be like that. Then the arcane is going to be either Crescendo or Duplicate or Exposure. Crescendo is an obvious one, since the raw damage is going to be pretty big, even with Roar, for us to, well, secure some kills, so we can activate both Crescendo and Trickery. I'm going to talk about the new third augment later. But we also get quite a lot of combo. From every hit, we get 20 combo. And with the way Ash is played with secondary dexterity, we're looking at 12.5 seconds of combo duration, and we may skip melee crescendo in favor of more damage, be it corrosive damage or be it melee duplicate. But melee duplicate is probably not going to be worth running, and if we're going for raw damage, then of course exposure is better than crescendo in multiple ways, outside of the fact that, well, crescendo gives you permanent 12 times combo, and Ash is the only Warframe who can do that, and he has plenty of damage already, as you can see, so probably not gonna bother with exposure and just go with crescendo for very comfortable playstyle. But to each their own, I guess. I'm not gonna stop you, right? I'm just suggesting. But what if we were to go with the crit route? Well, the crit route is kind of a messed up thing, because if we were to, for starters, mod for crit damage and crit chance, we'd have to go with Blood Rush, we'd have to go with both sacrificial mods, which is another mod slot taken from here. We'll have to go with crit damage, which is another 2 mods, like this, Organ Shatter and Gladiator's Might. And even with all these mods here, we'll have to get rid of elemental damage, and then we will definitely have to go with exposure to make up for it with corrosive damage. We're looking at mere 50, I believe 57.25% crit chance, let's round it down to 57% crit chance, and 2.5 times crit damage, final one. And we're only gonna look at yellow crits. We cannot really activate Avenger here. We could, however, go for Crepuscular and get another 3 times crit damage, as well as 30% more power strength, which is going to become Ash's second best arcane in this case, unless we're going for comfort in case of trickery, or energize if you do not want to use trickery, and if you're going to go for the third ability, augment. That means that every 50% chance, with a 57% chance, we have a chance to deal 2.5 to 5.5 times more damage, which is a lot. It is huge, it is massive, and with corrosive damage from here, yes, it is going to matter, it is going to be pretty good. And the crit setup on Ash is viable, not to mention, well, actually to mention, the fact that we can ruin the build completely. Let's say just replace, well, fleeting expertise, I guess, with primed flow for 500 energy, remove those 4 shards so that we have no comfort at all, and replace them with 4 purple shards. We still have to keep that one for 500 energy, and we will get 300% or 3 times extra crit multiplier, which is going to add up to 5.5 times crit damage on our Bladestorm, getting up to 8.5 times with Crepuscular, which is going to be, well, 8.5 times more damage every time you crit, which is pretty nice. The augment for his second ability is only going to get us 7.5% extra crit chance. It's not worth it, so just don't, unless you're a weapon platform combined with Bladestorm. I have no idea where would you put it here, but alright, whatever. It's going to absolutely ruin his energy economy. It's absolutely going to ruin this Warframe as a whole. You would need energize to make up for that, and you still will not, especially on short missions. It's just going to be a nightmare to run this setup. So I would say, personally, do not bother with the shards and stay at the comfortable playstyle. You can always ruin your Warframe later if you feel like it. But yeah, the crits are kind of viable, and they will still increase Ash's damage more than the raw damage setup. However, it's only when they crit. When they not crit, well, it's going to be a lot less, obviously. It's going to be 8.5 1.5 times less damage, plus whatever else damage you may lose from not having like finisher mods or elemental mods or whatever else. So I would say for comfort, go for crescendo, another finisher here and another elementalist here. And if you're going for crits, it's going to look atrociously bad, but it's going to be pretty much close to the Magister build, which I've just shown, which is going to look like something along those lines. But it's also going to be like Blood Rush, and I believe another finisher damage mod, or we can just keep elementals like that and just add Blood Rush, and that would probably be corrosive here, and that would probably be the best crit damage setup. Again, we're losing conditional overload in this case, which will work nicely then, so maybe lose some crit damage, or maybe for consistency you can just keep that. It's going to be revealed at testing when we finally get at this on our live version. For now it's too early to make such assumptions, we have no info to base them on. So for now I think that's pretty much it when it comes to Ash. I tried to cover kind of everything that he has going on for him at the moment. I would so much hope that finisher damage that we're going to slap on his Bladestorm is going to affect enemies who are not susceptible to finishers, just because it's a part of the ability itself. If it stops being so damn buggy, it would be so damn good. But if not, then we're screwed. I would still suggest running Ash with Roar, because it allows you to have more effective range on his 4. It also makes DOTs deal a lot more damage and finish enemies before they have to be struck with the second mark again, and it's going to be especially relevant since the mark is going to only happen once, and well, the DOTs from that are going to be increased because, well, the base damage is getting increased from our melee itself. The rework is going to happen in 18 days. I will post a video about it after I've done all the testing and polarization, and we'll see if I was right or not. That's it from me about Ash. I'll see you in like 3 weeks. Goodbye!